What is the nicest thing you've ever done that no one knows about? I pretended to be a horrible boss for 6 months to help my employee escape her abusive husband. Working as a manager at a small accounting firm, I noticed how Angela, one of our best accountants, started showing up with suspicious bruises she'd try to hide with makeup and long sleeves, even in summer. One day, I caught her crying in the break room, makeup smeared, holding an ice pack to her cheek. She quickly wiped her tears and said she walked into a door. Classic excuse. When I gently pressed further, she broke down and told me her husband Pete controlled every aspect of her life. He checked her phone, monitored her bank accounts, and demanded she hand over her entire paycheck. The next morning, I called Angela into my office and started my act. I slammed a stack of papers on my desk and loudly criticized her work in front of everyone. Said her performance was slipping, made her redo simple spreadsheets multiple times. Every few days, I'd find something new to yell about. Word spread quickly about how I'd become a nightmare boss. Other employees started avoiding eye contact in the hallways. HR even called me in for a discussion about my concerning behavior toward Angela. I stuck to my story. Her work wasn't meeting standards. Meanwhile, I was secretly depositing half her salary into a separate account I'd helped her set up. On paper, she was getting pay cuts for poor performance. In reality, she was building an escape fund Pete couldn't access or know about. I also started giving her mandatory overtime on weekends. Instead of working, she used those hours to meet with a divorce lawyer I'd recommended. She stored copies of important documents in my office safe, labeled as performance improvement paperwork. The hardest part was keeping up the act when Pete would show up unannounced at the office. He'd smugly ask how his wife was performing, clearly enjoying hearing me list her supposed failures. "Don't worry," he'd say. "I'll make sure she shapes up at home." The look in his eyes made my skin crawl. After 4 months, Angela had enough saved to rent a small apartment. I gave her assignments that let her slowly move essential items from her house during Pete's work hours. The divorce papers were ready. All we needed was the right moment. That came when Pete had to travel for a 3-day business trip. The morning he left, I called Angela into my office for her final warning. As I berated her work ethic, she quietly packed her desk, exactly as we'd planned. I watched through my office window as she drove away, finally free. Pete showed up at our office 2 days later, raging about his missing wife. I calmly showed him documentation of her poor performance and resignation. When he demanded her new address for her final paycheck, I shrugged and said company policy required direct deposit. He threatened to sue the company, claiming I'd pushed her to quit. I smiled and played the security footage of him bragging about shaping her up at home. Told him any lawsuit would make that footage public record. He never came back. A year later, Angela is thriving at a new job. She's dating a kind man who treats her like gold.